houses are in the Jewish quarter, which seems to be fairly new, beautifully built, really, really beautifully built. Little alleyways everywhere. Walking up through one of the back streets of the old city. Andre's just poured water over his head. He seems to be finding it a little bit hot today. Actually, it's not so bad as it's been for the last couple of days. About 27, 28, I suppose. Or maybe 30. Here we are in Egypt, up in Aswan, Felucca.
Yeah, it's very popular.
We're in a Felucca now, just going around to a Nubian village. This is one of the boats, the sort of boat we'll be going on. Andre trying to do some sailing practice.
Take another one.
And this is the city of Aswan.
I'm taking
This
this.
is a wooden one. You guys have wood. Someone's got wood on the outside.
I'm taking
This is a
another
wooden
one.
one on the
All
outside.
right.
It's nice. Take out some book. Where are these made? In Cairo? Made in Cairo? Or made here? Yes. What you see some Ugandans that you see travel. That's good.
Some tombs on the hillside. And we're going towards this Nubian village on the edge of the peninsula here.
That's the island we've been staying at in Aswan, called Elephantine Island. And the cruise boats and Lukes that we're sailing on. We're on the one now, of course. This is the last one. Steering the boat for Luke. You know where you're going, Soph? You're going to point, look where you're going, look?
My turn.
No, you can't just grab it back when you want.
Andre resting, he's finding the toe, and there's Mother.
This is evening in the desert. Aswan. And Sophie and Andre dragging behind the felucca. Bye! In the night.
Hang on, don't let go, because we don't want to turn around.
Take another one of me.
No, one's enough. This is just an experiment to see if this video will take an evening sunset. sailing down the Nile River from Aswan. We've stopped off at Komobor to look at a temple there. Now we're on our way to Esna. Very desert-like here, but it's not always like this.
Well, you didn't have your eyes on it. She was going to go underwater the whole way without breathing. I was disappointed.
Alan says he wants
So stick your hands out.
and I don't know when how much. That did go.
No, they do that every year. Even the guys who run tournaments get to go to that. My mate goes to France.
Yeah, and if
You look at Brexit,
and we're making lots of money.
Bank stuff.
And as you say, when we've got people to buy, they're going to let's take off there's always one.
They're still floating down the Nile. This is some of the sediment. Typical houses people live in. This is just down from Esna.
Worked in a prison cell. 7 years.
This is downstream from Esma, still, and just village life along the shores. Carrying water up from the Nile. And the buffalo having a swim.
How good's the telescopic?
There's swimming pool on the top deck. There's lots of fun in here, diving, making big splashes of dead. This is big. You can get drinks over there. Very nice. People splashing in the swimming pool. When we first came here, it was just filling up. This is where we have breakfast, and it's really nice. It's a great place. And last night we had this fancy dress-up party and a buffet, and I was dressed up as Julius Caesar. This is where we have this is where we sleep. This is our room. Sophie leaves junk all over the place. My bed. Sophie's. We have a double set, double rooms. Mom and Dad's room. Outside.
Bridge, and was once crossed by the samurai when they were bringing Tokugawa remains up to the mausoleum at the Shobu Shrine, which is where we're going to now, to see a commemoration of the procession that was held a couple of hundred years ago, I think. These are all people preparing for the festival, preparing to go into the procession.
行列が進んでまいりますごとに簡単な説明を申し上げます。
裏が通るときにはフラッシュを焚くのをやめてください。
最初の乗馬、下垂れ姿の3人のうち、最初の方は前区といいまして警護にあたる方です。ただいまでは宇部国会の幹事長が務めております。次の方は昔の奉行でこの行列の総取締りにあたる方ですが、ただいまでは宇部国会の幹事長
松江、小八郎松江。The second one on the horseback is the president of the Personal Association of the Nikko Social Shrine. He is Mr. Yoshihara. Mr. Yoshihara. The third one on the horseback, he is the mayor of Nikko. Mayor of Nikko, Mr. Zendo Saito. 3名のノーズバーがcoming down。
次に人数は100人を占め、朝霞下の警護が2人ついて50人ずつ2列に進んでまいります。これは表示矛持ちと言います。頭にかぶっていますのは鳥かぶと、着ているものは朝の字の方にアサリのぬば玉をつけております。手に持っていますのは長さ8尺の矛です。これはいわばこの絵の儀仗兵といったところでしょう。
Now come the 100 people in each line, 50 people holding the 4 bars. They are the guardians of the Emperor Palace in olden time.
次に真っ赤な天狗の目をつけて進んでまいりますのは食事矛持ちです。これはサルタヒコの御事で昔戦争降臨の時に道案内されたという物語から案内役といったところです。この役目は父です。よその者は耳が垂れているのが普通ですが、東照宮の父は耳が立っているのが変わっていると言われます。中には3人の辞任が入っておりまして、これは魔除けのお供です。
There come the lions. Under the cover, there are 3 people inside.
次は辞任で笛を吹く人です。
Attention please, don't do the flash. Only the procession passing before you. The horses is very system and frightened. どうぞ行列が通るときにフラッシュを使わないでください。フラッシュを焚きますと馬が非常に神経質でございます。And he did the Nikko thereafter.
次に太鼓を持って進んでまいります黄色い帆を着た人は大拍子と言います。この太鼓に合わせてお旅所で次に続く八乙女が神楽舞を行います。
There comes a Byoshi that is one of the Shinto priests.
次に白帽子をかぶり、立花模様の着物を着て進んでまいりますのは八乙女です。着物の上には千早といって簡単な装束の一種を身につけておりますが、この白帽子は神聖な娘の象徴で、角隠しと同じものです。
There comes a young sacred dog that performs sacred dancing at Otabi shore. Please go down there and see watch the ceremony and dancing there.
次に続く乗馬は垂直でどちらも制服をつけております。数50丁2列に分かれて進んでおります。平車の袋に入った火縄のついた鉄砲を担ぎ、腰には大小の2頭を刺し、ハッピ桃引き姿です。
There comes 100 people, and each line 25 people, and holding rifles, covered in scarlet cloth. Those rifles came from Holland about 300 years ago into our country. They were used in actual fighting in Japan.
次は弓持ち50針です。背に担いでいる黒塗りのものはウツボといって矢を入れるもの。服装は鉄砲持ちと同じです。続いて槍持ち50筋、やはり2列に進んでまいります。
There comes the Jewish people in England, holding the bow and arrow, shooting the arrow cases on their back. Then comes also 60 people in the age line, 25 people.
美しい火おろしの鎧、盾を前に立てた兜、すべて金色でしております。
Our color children highlight 100 people in the age line, 60 people. They are attired golden helmets and golden armor. In the pagan time, olden time, after the cute page boys, they hold 50 people, they hold in the sect. They are wearing the scarlet half-coat and glorious masks on their head. Those scarlet half-coats introduced in the foreign countries in those times. And second one on horseback is Mr. carrying banner on his back.
続いて弓鉾と呼ばれる3本の旗がじりじりと進んでまいります。これは三種の神器の大鉾とも言われております。第1の鉾が宝剣で剣の形をしております。第2が日輪、第3が月輪で、それぞれの5本のついた旗をつけ、
and bells.
先の出し入れを助ける人々です。このお宮に先祖代々仕えている手伝いの方々です。
Schoolboys here,
and safety of the traffic and getting the big promotion. We almost
thousands of people that come
running
here.
out there. There's more than
Following a coloured flag.
Please wait. Please wait.
いよいよおみこしの作業です。このおみこしは先ほど説明いたしましたように重さ1125キロ。
めっちゃこうなってるから、バリウムが入るしね、完全にたくさん入れば、こうなるけど、室内にはこうなりますよ。
Yes,
ゲタップで持って離して、大丈夫なんです
He's only doing a grind. I just said that it's Andre doing a grind. This is the great piece of dirt dug out from the side of the driveway. Do another one, Andre. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Another one, okay.
One more.
Okay. See? She's just over 6 months old at this stage. Ness, Ness. Yeah, you're a cute little dog, aren't you? Even if you do pull on the leash. And down here's Baron. He's the same age. Baron! You're a funny little street dog. And this is Sophie. She's a little bit older than 6 months of age. What's the matter? What's the matter, Baron? What's the matter? What's the matter, hey? What's the matter? And this is Lily Lou. She's jealous. She's come up to say hello. Haven't she, little hey? Yes, she's come to say hello, haven't she? It's going to do another grind. Brilliant. Now he's going to ollie the grate. What? Now he's going to ollie the grate.
Yep.
This is the grate.
The grill.
And he's going to ollie over at the top of it. Ollieing, for the uninitiated, means jumping with your skateboard. How's that? Up the ramp and down again. Yikes.
I'm even better.
Yep. How's that?
So good.
Of the overseas trip, I hope you've had to fast forward through most of it. Honey, have you got something to say? Because you missed out the last time we were talking.
Well, I think the math is pretty stupid. He said we should do the lines with the ruler, and the lines came out of into there. I think the ruler said he came out of and said, we aren't doing fourth grade yet. We're just starting doing a little third grade.
Andre's having the usual spasm after school. Okay, folks, we'll see you back in Australia. But you said you could design a board and have one made. So he's pretty keen on doing that, I think, although he's a bit nervous about being able to use one. The Airbys are here at the moment, Jack and Georgina Airby, and they've brought their eldest son Nicholas with them, who's nearly 12, and he and Andre get on really well, and we've had a superb last week with them. I was working full-time all week at the kindergarten, but Jack and Georgina and Nick went off and had a really good and interesting time around Tokyo, including going to Disneyland. So Nick's very pleased, and he's had a great time. And they've gone down to Kyoto this week for a few days. They'll be back tomorrow. So we'll go up. We went down to Shimoda at the weekend with them, and the boys got in a bit of surf. There's been a typhoon through here. Not a really bad one, but it means that for quite some days afterwards they have very high seas. And so the waves were really quite high, and Rob and Jack had some really good surf on our tiny little cove. So they had a good time. And the water here, of course, is very, very warm at this time of the year, even if it's cold outside. The water is warm. So it was a beaut weekend. We really enjoyed it. And next weekend we'll go up to Kamimoku, so they see a little bit of the countryside. And I wish it was you and Pete and you two kids here instead, actually. But never mind. I guess, it's a bit expensive to come here, but we really wish we'd been able to share some of this beaut place with you. We had a great time overseas, as we've probably already told you. Helsinki was really interesting. It was sort of small, but it was really quite interesting. I quite enjoyed just being there with the kids for a little while, which is always fun. And it was, the Finns seemed to be a fairly stodgy sort. They seem to have just woken up from their long, cold winter, and time for the winter to descend on them again. But they seem nice enough once you sort of break through the ice to begin with. But they're sort of fairly quiet people, it seems. And Leningrad was interesting. Rob insists on putting all the tape that we took, sending it to you unedited, so you can go out and get a sandwich and a cup of coffee halfway through, because a lot of it's sort of repetitive, and I haven't been able to edit it efficiently or to dub over the top of it here. So because we've been procrastinating for so long, we're just going to send it straight out to you. Anyway, Leningrad was really interesting. I'd really like to go back there, actually, perhaps in the winter when it's not so crowded. And the people seemed very oppressed and very quiet, and there is really literally nothing there to buy, or nothing much to do except drink, I think. It's a very oppressed sort of society, and sort of very sad in lots of ways, but it was once upon a time a very beautiful city. Well, the beautiful buildings are the ones that the Tsarist regime have left. Not much has been, or nothing's been done since. And strangely enough, they do make quite a big effort to maintain those buildings, and especially out in the summer palace of Peter the Great. And that's really very, very beautiful and quite splendid. I mean, just unbelievable. It's more beautiful than a lot of things that I've seen, including Versailles, actually. Although I didn't go inside of this particular palace, it wasn't on our tour. It was a very, very beautiful place. Actually, Peter the Great never lived in it anyway, but you'll see it on the tape, and very French. But Leningrad was interesting. The Hermitage was absolutely incredible. You'd need about 4 or 5 days in the place. It was just amazing. So many works of art. I can hardly even remember them anymore. I'd like to have bought a book on it, but unfortunately they were very, very expensive and very heavy to carry. So many of the things, including, books on Tutankhamun and all sorts of things like that, I'll have to wait till I get home to Australia to purchase and re-look at. And London was good. It rained a lot of the time, most of the time, and I think probably England's a great place to visit, but a great place to live in, but perhaps not such a great place to visit as one might expect, except especially just for a week. But the children enjoyed it, and Rob enjoyed it. He had a few tests done on his his arm problem there, which were a bit inconclusive, and he's followed up here. He's still suffering from inability to use that arm, and sometimes it's really quite sore and doesn't work at all well, but they seem to have narrowed it down to a particular pinching of a nerve, and he might have to undergo some surgery here to try and find out, or to release the nerve from the whatever's pinching it. I sort of hope he doesn't have to do that here, but he seems to have a lot of faith in doctors here, and in specialists, and I guess, they'd know as much as anyone else. Jerusalem was really interesting. It was very hot and very tiring, and there were a lot of things that we didn't get to do because it really was hot. And actually getting around Jerusalem is fairly hard because you can only go in taxis, and they are excruciatingly expensive, and sometimes pretty hard to get. But so walking is the thing to do, or going in buses, and we did quite a bit of that, but not as much as perhaps we would like to have. But we did see a lot, and the old city is really amazing. Since I've come home, I've read quite a lot more about the city and about the Middle East conflict and the Middle East history, and so it's much more meaningful since I came home than actually being there, but having been there, it's been worth it. And Egypt, of course, was fascinating. Also, again, extremely hot, but very, very interesting. And as usual with these places, when you come home, it seems to be more value than when you're actually there. When you're actually there, it doesn't quite mean as much as when you've come home and you've got time to think about it and sort of see it in perspective and see. When you're there, it all seems very natural for women to be walking down with pails of water on their, with buckets on their head to get pails of water from the Nile for drinking and washing and washing themselves in the Nile, and it all seems very natural, the landscape, and even the temples and the pyramids seem to sort of belong in their place. But when you come home and you look at photographs, you think, my God, that's just absolutely spectacular. So we had a really good time. We met some very interesting people, especially one particularly interesting American man who seemed to be travelling. He was travelling just with his daughter, and he was a particularly interesting fellow, a really nice fellow, and he lived in he had a holiday house in Santa Fe, which sounds extremely interesting. He talked a lot about Indian life, American Indian life, and it made me very much want to visit there, but I don't know if I'll ever have a chance to do that. But I would very much like to go to that area because it was really fascinating, the stories he told, and he obviously had begun to take a great deal of interest in it, had a great love for the Indian people and their history and their religious rites, etc. So it sounded really interesting, but I'm not sure if we can manage that in a trip on the way home. We'll see. Bangkok was really great. That's where I spent most money. I hadn't spent anything up till then, but Bangkok was really good. The Thai silk was really beautiful, and we had some lovely slacks made, and that was also extremely hot because it was back into the humid sort of weather which we're not used to. And but it was really great. The hotel must have been the best hotel that Rob and I have ever stayed in. which seems crazy, when you look at it in film as you'll see it, but it really was a super hotel, really, really nice. And it was good. We had 6 great days there. The kids had a good time again, and, we had a really good time. But we were really glad to come sort of home, in inverted commas. It was nice to come back to the house in familiarity. And then the kids had 3 weeks of not knowing what to do with themselves. We spent a lot of time at the American club, the club here that a lot of foreigners use, which has a swimming pool. And they spent a lot of time in front of television, but they were really quite happy to go back to school. And they've settled down at school. Andre's getting used to his first male teachers. And Sophie's settled into her schedule, which is pretty tight schedule actually. They both only get about half an hour for lunch, and they work, solidly all the way through. But Andre seems to be coping extremely well. He's certainly getting, A's and B pluses for his work so far, because they're tested fairly frequently anyway. But we have a back-to-school orientation day for parents today, because it's a national holiday here today in Japan. Although the international schools are working, they use this day because they know fathers are free to visit the schools. So we'll get a chance to speak to each of the teachers and have a word to them about anything that's worrying us. And that should be really interesting. A really beautiful day. It's just gorgeous. But I'm afraid summer has gone and autumn will be fast upon us, and then autumn doesn't last very long and we'll be into winter. So we're crossing our fingers for a really cold winter, or a really snowy winter, because it'll probably be our last, or will be our last, and we'd like to do quite a lot of skiing, which we might not get an opportunity to do much of when we come back to Australia. Has a day off today, and he's enjoying himself in his usual fashion of climbing all over the house and putting up all sorts of electrical cables and things, which is the way he used to always relax when he was in Australia. He's putting up a special cable so that he can get better reception for a shortwave radio. That way he can listen to the grand final with more clarity than normal. Davey, Sunday's your birthday. We'll be up at Kamimoku, and we don't have a telephone up there, and so we really don't have any way of contacting you. I'm going to try and ring you on Friday, but I'm not sure where you'll be, so I'll have a try at Point Lonsdale, and then I'll try up at the farm. But if I don't get in contact with you, we wish you a really happy birthday. We hope you have a great day. Hope you like our present we sent you. And, well, we just hope we can contact you, but a great big hug and a kiss. She says that under no account are you to grow any more, because she definitely wants to be taller than you when she comes back to Australia. So you're just going to have to stop eating and put a brick on your head. Yeah, the Tokyo Corporation here brings Ken Rosewall up to Tokyo for a series of lessons that he gives to, I think, top people in the company. And they then spend one Sunday with the Australian representatives of the Australian community, have a day where they meet with the Tokyo Corporation people and play tennis, have a tennis day. And this year Rob and I have been involved. There are 5 women and 5 men who represent the community here to play tennis with Ken Rosewall, which I find horrifying, to say the least, because although I've had quite a few lessons, I still can't serve for nuts. And I'm terrified. But anyway, at least I'll be fit, because over the holidays I felt that my 40-year-old body was really out of shape and getting really, flabby. So big news, I know, Pete, but anyway, I decided to do some exercise classes, which I started to do, and then lo and behold, the teacher decided to go on home leave and asked if I would actually teach the classes. So because I'm unable to say no, and because dollar signs lit up in my eyes, and because I want to travel to Kyushu on my own in November and need the money, I said yes. So now I'm teaching an aerobics class every morning. Well, never having done any exercise, not having done exercise for a long time, and certainly never exercised in my life every day, I'll probably be on crutches by the end of the week, but you never know. At least I'll be fit enough to run around the tennis court and won't embarrass myself, because we have to play at least 3 games, all of which I'm bound to lose. but I just cross fingers that my partner's not Robert, because we could end up with a divorce after this one. It's a new year now. In terms of, the children go back to school, and quite a lot of people leave Tokyo about this time, around about July, August, September, and new people come in, so there's quite a lot of new faces. And I feel like an old hand here now after only 2 years. I'm the one telling people where to go and what to do and how much it'll cost, etc. So it's really quite a new scene, and quite a lot of acquaintances have left, which means letter writing becomes more important, and sometimes it's hard to catch up with people and keep track of them. But it's sort of sad in a way, because faces that you've used to seeing around who've gone through the beginning throes with you have now gone. But I guess that's expat life, and I certainly wouldn't want to be an expat, professional expatriate, as some people are, who forever go from one town to the other and pick up and leave off and pick up and leave off. It's a really sort of unreal way of living, quite a fairyland. And the only time I ever feel I have my feet on the ground is when I'm actually working. I worked full-time last week and part of the week before, because that was the beginning of school, and settling little ones into school is a little bit difficult. And so they asked if I would work for a while, which was great. And I'm working one day this week, so hopefully that with a bit of luck it might turn out that I work a bit more than I expected for the first half of the year anyway, because I could certainly do with some income. It's really expensive to travel in this city. Pete, if you had time to speak to Mrs. Parker, I hope you didn't mind speaking to her. Perhaps you felt that it might be a bit awkward or something. I don't know, but I would appreciate it if you could have. Rob and I would like to invest down there for the future, perhaps. I don't know, but we would like to invest in some property, also in Melbourne as well. So we're looking also in Melbourne for an apartment or townhouse. But we'd also like to buy down at Point Lonsdale, just as an investment for the time being anyway, and especially as prices seem to be going up. And I feel that prices will go up enormously perhaps in that small area over the next few years, and I'd like to have some sort of foothold there. And it just might be, an opportune thing to do. It would be a pity if it sort of went from under our noses anyway. Away from home, you sort of tend to analyse, your future, or step back and have a look at what you're doing and what you might like to do. And I have these dreams of retiring to Point Lonsdale, the way Dad used to dream about it, I suppose. And I'd really like that to take fruit. Although I'm not thinking of retiring tomorrow, but I'd like to live down there when we're older, because it is close to Melbourne, and I will get even closer, I suppose. And I do like it down there very much. And I think too. Well, you'd understand, you just need to have that sort of sense of roots, and I think that I have a lot of memories that go back down there, and I'd really like to have some sort of feeling of settlement or taking root down there. I noticed today in the paper that 71 Royal Avenue is on the market again. Goodness knows why. I think they must have wrecked the place, or perhaps it's unlivable or something, but I think it was only sold at the beginning of this year, so it's not even a year, I think, since it went. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to it. We just happened to see it by chance, and maybe I'll get a letter off to Pam or Patsy or someone and see if they might like to be able to slip in and have a look and see what it's like, see what they've done to it. I think they might have changed it a bit since the last time I saw it, but I think they might have rearranged upstairs a little bit, but it seems a pity, the poor little house being pushed around like that. It would have been nice if it had gone into somebody else's loving care and stayed like that for another 30 or 40 years. But anyway, that's none of my business, and I guess you can't hang on to everything, can you? Stopped climbing over the roof, and he seems to have fixed his cable, so I think I've hogged enough of this tape. I'll hand you over to him. So I hope you're all well and fit and had a great holiday, and we'll be in touch. I forgot. the Airbies brought up a few paperbacks, and one of them was by a Canadian writer called Margaret Atwood, Attwwood, and it was called The Handmaid's Tale, and it was a kind of science fiction about what the world might be like in 2150 or something, and I really enjoyed it, and I wondered if she's written quite a few other things. She's also written quite a lot of poetry, which I'm not that mad about, but she's written quite a few novels, and I wondered if you come across any of them, would you be able to send them to me? It'll probably cost you a bit, but I'll post down a check as soon as they're to repay you, because I think they're quite large. They're quite thick paperbacks. They're sort of thick writing, heavy, big writing, and also, would you be able to send up perhaps some of Doris Lessing's science fiction books? I've read, a lot of her books I've read, but some of the newer ones I haven't read, and I'd really like to read them. And there's also another writer, woman writer I read about in the age who, her name's Shirley Conran, I think, who's written quite a few books. Oh, the Margaret Atwood books are all published by Virago. But if you can send up, or any books that you think might be interesting that you've read lately, because I really can't find anything much here, and in England I just didn't get time, and really didn't have the money, to buy at the time, cash to buy a lot of books, and just didn't have much time at all. I only had about half a day in the end to buy some books, and I did buy a few, but it takes a long time and a lot of browsing to find them. So I know you're really busy, but just if you happen to be in a bookstore and you happen to see some, I'd really, really appreciate, just a few novels. I'm getting sick of Japanese literature.
Hi, David, Lisa, Pete, and Liz. How are you all in Australia there? As Mary explained, we're having a restful, relaxing day at home without the kids, and I'm pottering around changing light bulbs and doing odds and ends jobs. But it's lovely weather today, and it's a relief after the summer here, which is very humid and very warm. I suppose it's the end of the football season for you, David. I hope you're doing well. You should be, a big tall boy like you. I'm very excited, of course, that Carlton are playing in the grand final on Saturday, and by the time you get this tape, you'll know what the result is. But I hope to listen to it on Radio Australia, and it should be interesting to see the result. Naturally, I want Carlton to win. Mary probably explained to you, we have the Airbies staying with us at the present time, and Andre's having a great time with their son Nick, and he gets excited to come home from school every day and play with Nick. And last weekend we went down to the beach and they had a great time. The waves at Shimoda last weekend were huge because there'd been a small typhoon here, or very strong winds, that had got the surf up, and it was too big for the boys to go in, but Jack and I had lots of fun and we felt very tired the next day. And this weekend we're taking them up to the country to give them a view of the country. Busy at work as usual, with the weather getting better. I've got a few visitors coming in to attend to, and that takes up a lot of time because often it's all day and then night entertainment, and that's part of the job. It's very interesting at the moment because we are just about finishing the bank's financial year, and a lot of work being done to have our accounts prepared and ready in the manner required. We missed Point Lonsdale, and we hope the Japanese are investing down there and they can leave some extra houses for us to invest in. It's getting quite a bit of publicity here in Japan, the interest in the cheapness of Australian property, cheapness by Japanese standards, and it's partly a result of the property business in California and Texas being in a recession with a huge oversupply of properties. And to some extent the Japanese are looking elsewhere, and I have a fear that there may be some backlash of the numbers we see in the office here continue, particularly in Sydney and Queensland, where the cost of houses has gone up enormously and must make it very difficult for young people wanting to buy a house. Andre's looking forward to the winter because he loves to go skiing, and the winter here is actually very pleasant because it's still. We don't get a lot of wind, it's cold and it snows, but it's a rather beautiful winter, not as drizzly and unpleasant as Australia. In fact, you quite often have blue skies here, followed by a day or two of wetness, followed by blue skies again. But it's not an unpleasant winter, and we do enjoy the recreation here because of the concrete jungle we live in. And I suppose Andre must be, by the end of the week, feel like a person that's bursting out of his skin because he just doesn't have the area to play and jump and do what you can do, David. We're going to have some lunch now because we have to go to the kids' school this afternoon. At the end of this tape, we're going to show you some of our tapes of Europe. I don't think they're as good as they might have been. We're still on the learning curve, but hopefully we'll get better as we go along. The sound in certain places is also a bit leaves a lot to be desired, so please forgive our amateurish attempts, and it's nice to send you a message, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye-bye.
Well, hello Williams family. This is your niece, cousin, whatever you want to call me. See, well, today is Wednesday, and as you can see, I'm still in my school uniform. Come home from school, and I've begun to watch this movie. I can't remember. It's called, I can't remember. Anyway, see, well, we've had some friends of ours come up here from Australia, some friends of Dad's come up here to stay with us for a while. The Airbies, which has been interesting, and here's Dad, so I'll stop it because I can't think when he's out here. Now, what is there for me to tell you? Well, before we started school, we were just hanging around the American Club, which was boring actually. We started school a couple of weeks ago. I'm now in 9th grade, and well, they've seemed to have stuffed up our schedule at school because we're supposed to have 4 lessons in the morning and then a lunch break, and then 3 lessons after the lunch break. But now we have 3 lessons before the lunch break, and then another class, then 4 classes. And then on Thursdays we don't have any class because this class that's different is 55 minutes long instead of 45. So on Thursdays we don't have any IPS class, that's the one class. So it's a bit confusing, it's rather annoying too because this stuffed up everyone's schedule, and a couple of my friends, I'm kind of split from a couple of my friends because of that. So it's a bit of a mess, but schools just, I guess my school doesn't have the brains to fix a proper schedule, but it's really annoying actually. Well, last weekend, well, there's been a typhoon here over just, just last Thursday and Friday or something. And we went down to Shimoda for the weekend, our beach house. And, well, the waves were ginormous because of the typhoon, I guess. They were really huge. I mean, so big. Big things. Well, they're big for Japan. I mean, they're just average for Australia, I guess. They're pretty big. I guess they're about as big as the ones, maybe a little bigger, I don't know. Yeah, no, maybe a little smaller, I'm not quite sure. The ones at the back beach, if the back beach is still making waves that big. Sure it is. Oh yeah, today there was an eclipse, and we were all out in the playground at lunchtime looking
well, it was our lunchtime, everyone else was in class. We were all out looking through pieces of paper. Well, we get this piece of paper, right? We make a very small hole in it, like big as a needle hole, big as a, puncture it, just a tiny little hole. And then you shine it onto another piece of paper. And you look under the hole, not through the hole, but underneath the hole onto the other piece of paper, and you'll see the little white dot, where the sun's coming through. And then you see, like, then you see, you'll see the white where the sun's shining through, the ray of light where the sun's shining through. And you'll see just a little black thing at the side, and you think, oh, damn, the paper isn't in the perfect circle. But when you turn it around, you'll see that same shadow is still there. So you realize, oh, it's an eclipse. And some people brought some film negatives out, and we were looking through them. And this was really interesting. It wasn't a total eclipse. It was only like 1/3, 30% of the eclipse. 30%, whatever. Hang on, let me think what else I can say. Well, I guess that's about all I have to say. So, toodaloo. I don't know, it felt as though you were gone back in time, practically. Anyway. Well, I'm afraid that, the mozzies are eating me to death, as Mum pointed out before, so I think I better finish this.